Hello, this is Tricia Murray from the Birth and Baby Academy. I'm really sorry, I don't know what happened before, but something happened to the Wi-Fi connection in the kitchen. So I'm now on 4G and hopefully this is working. So this is day 2 of the 4-day mini-series all about pain in childbirth. So yesterday we spoke all about what the purpose of pain was, and the purpose of pain is to alert you that something's happening to your body and that you need to seek safety, seek the right environment for your baby to come into the world and sort of build your nest and just sort of get yourself prepared. And if you don't have that pain, then you don't know your baby's coming, and that is an issue. So that was yesterday's session, was all about that. So that's just a quick recap on yesterday's session. So today's session is all about what makes pain in childbirth worse. And this is a really important topic because when you know what makes it worse, it means that you can prepare mentally and physically, and also prepare your partner so you understand what the importance of the environment is and not having stress in the room, and the importance that that you look after yourself. And we'll go through that. So although it feels like a really negative thing, what makes it worse, it means that you can really start to reduce this happening to you. And don't forget at the end of this to go to the Birth and Baby Academy website and download the resources bundle, because there's a lot of the tools there will really help you around all of these issues. That's a free tool, that's a free bundle for you that you can download. So let's crack on and start discussing this in a bit more detail. So the first thing would be physical issues. So one of the things we often hear about is babies being OP or back-to-back sort of positions. And that's when the baby is coming out with its face up to the world, and it's not coming out in the way that it's meant to be. And many women can birth really successfully in that position, so it's not always a bad thing. So quite often we're made to believe that it's always a bad thing, and it's not always. Sometimes that's just the way that your pelvis is, the way that you're holding your baby. But for other women, that is an issue, and it can make a much longer and much more challenging labour and birth. And a typical pattern would be just constant contractions, no break. So in a normal birth, when baby's in a much better position, we would have contractions that would go up, peak, and then they would come down. Quite often, when a baby is back to back on a really challenging position, the contractions, they don't even peak, they're just always high. And there might be little bits that come down, but certainly the contraction levels are very, very, very high while that baby is turning to get himself into the right position. It can be really, really, really challenging. And this is happening more and more and more women, and it's partly because we are now so sedentary. We don't walk, we don't use stairs, we don't climb up hills, we're not as mobile. And the other thing is, in our pregnancy, we're often just constantly sitting back at the laptop, sitting back in a computer, and that can be really, really, really challenging to get the baby into not into the best position. So there's a thing called optimal fetal positioning, and that's kind of what you're looking at. You're looking to support your baby to get into that position. And one way to do, and there's lots of different ways to do that. We cover that much more in depth in the birth bundle. There's more information in there about how to do that, but certainly you can Google it yourself now and seek ways to help you to get baby into a much better position. Then there's environmental factors. So this is something that you've got a lot more control over. So we don't birth well when we are cold, in cold environments, because just think about it, we don't want our baby to come into a cold room, so it must feel warm and comfortable. We don't birth well in really bright environments. We don't birth well in hostile environments, so places that we feel really uncomfortable or unfamiliar territory, we won't birth well in. And certainly if there's lots and lots of loud noises and people coming in and out and chattering, that can be a really big challenge when we're birthing. So really we're looking to have an undisturbed birth. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a while. So those things will lower your pain threshold, increase your stress levels, and will mean a much more challenging birth. The second thing the third thing is that when we don't have privacy, it's when we feel observed, when we feel pressure put on us. So pressure to give birth within a certain time range, or just pressure. And when we feel that pressure, we start to get really, really stressed. And again, that stress will decrease our pain threshold and increase our pain level. And that's partly to do, all of these things are partly to do with oxytocin, which is a really important hormone. And we cover that hugely in the birth bundle. But oxytocin is one of the most important hormones in terms of helping you to manage your pain. Yesterday, we covered a little bit about safety and about when we have that pain that we need to seek safety. And that safety physically, we need to feel physically safe, and we need to feel emotionally safe, which is often completely disregarded. But that emotional safety, as well as the physical safety, are vital in terms of helping us to produce more oxytocin, which then produces more endorphins, which then helps us to manage the pain. So when we don't feel safe, physically and emotionally, then that will be an issue. The other thing is that there's a lot of interruptions. So if you're constantly being interrupted and people are constantly talking to you, or you're having to make decisions often, that is an issue too. So because you're going from the primal brain, which is where you need to be to give birth, into the thinking brain. And once you start to get that thinking brain engaged, it's really difficult to continue to give birth, but often makes a much more painful birth because you're away from the oxytocin. Sorry, that was my mum phoning. Oh my goodness. Right, this is not a good technology environment today. Right, then also stress. So how we feel about stress, how stressed we are, and specifically things around mindset. So when fears and negative beliefs come into that birth room, so any fears that we might have, it could even be a fear about the pain, or it could be a fear about tearing, or it could be a fear about how you're managing, etc., etc., all those things, they will again take you out of that lovely oxytocin sort of place in your body, and will decrease the amount of oxytocin in your body and will increase your adrenaline levels. So again, we talk about that in depth in the birth bundle, but that's basically why. So it's so vital that you work through your fears and negative beliefs. That is fundamental in terms of birth preparation, is working through all of that. One of the other things is people invading our emotional and physical boundaries. So things like vaginal exams, they seem really benign, but they're not, because it's people really really an invasive procedure, and that can increase our pain threshold. Now, I say that all the time to women that I work with as a doula. We talk about vaginal exams. You need to have a vaginal exam. We talk about the risks in terms of it stopping, prolonging labour. But often women really want to know how advanced they are, because that goes back to the belief that if you're so many centimetres dilated, that you're going to give birth in X amount of time. So these are beliefs about birth, and our beliefs about how birth is, and the fact is that we're so mechanical, actually has a massive impact. So, and going back to the physical boundaries, people touching your physical space, people making you feel unsafe in the birth room, people saying things to you which they don't necessarily mean, can just make you feel really uncomfortable. And again, if you don't feel comfortable with the midwife that's looking after you during your labour and birth, it's absolutely vital that you and your partner have got something in place so that they know to get rid of that person out of the room. The midwife might be absolutely lovely, and it's just not either the right day for her, or it's not the right mix. And we all have bad days, so it's not a criticism of anybody. Just sometimes it's just not the right mix. So you must feel really emotionally safe with the person that's looking after your care. Then there's simple things like hunger. If you're hungry, you're much more likely your adrenaline levels are going to be really high. So that will make our pain threshold lower. Things like remembering to breathe, and we'll talk more about breathing tomorrow in terms of tools that can help us through labour to manage our pain. And also if we're physically holding on to any tension in our body, that will also be a challenge. So just having that awareness that our legs are really, really sore. And actually I often say, if I'm going to be massaging a woman through labour, quite often it's actually in her legs, because her legs get really, really, really tired. So quite often I spend hours literally massaging the women's legs and bottom, because that is where they're holding all of their stress. And the other thing I just want to touch on a little bit today is around induction. So some women will be induced for whatever reason, and I'm not going to get into that discussion today because I think that's going to be another mini-series coming up. But some women will be induced, and if they are induced with maybe just the pessary or the gel or the catheter or a lower level of intervention, they might be able to manage the pain reasonably well. But other women won't be, because your body's artificially contracting. And specifically, once you go on to the I can never say this word properly, syntonosin drip, synto, and once you go into the synto, the hormone drip, that'll really speed up the level of contractions, and often that is where you might feel that you need to have an epidural, because they are really painful. And that's because it totally disrupts your hormones. So those hormones, the artificial oxytocin, actually blocks your natural oxytocin. And because that's blocked, it means that all the pain relief that your body would naturally produce, which is your endorphins, they won't start working in your body. So your body's not able to manage the pain from those contractions very well. We cover this in depth in the birth bundle. We cover all of that in depth. We cover how the brain works. We cover how all the hormones work. We cover it all in much more depth. This is just giving you a summary of it. If you've enjoyed this, then do certainly give me a comment or ask me a question. And do certainly go to our website, go to the resources bundle, and download that, and you can start to work through that there. There's different things in there that will help you to prepare. Specifically, there's a really good visualisation about releasing fears, which will be really, really helpful for you at this stage. So tomorrow we're going to be talking much more sort of positive, and that's all about how we can manage the pain using our body. So some of that will be in continuation from today, and some of it will just be new techniques that you can learn. So that's at 5 o'clock tomorrow in this Facebook group. If you've enjoyed it, do let your friends know who are pregnant. Do spread the word around, because I do think this mini-series is really, really, really helpful for people. And so I would really love you if you could help me to spread the message about it. Okay, take care. Bye.